Okay, item C.
Item 6C, adopt resolution approving the design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Golden Bay Construction, Inc. for the installation of bulb outs for the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Phase 2 project at the intersections of San Bruno Avenue and Easton, Masson, Mills Avenues in the amount of $613,002, approving a construction contingency of $92,000, appropriating $75,000 for Measure A, and approving a total budget in the amount of $924,291.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Haywan Ritchie. I am the City Engineer for the City of San Bruno. The item I have before you tonight is the award of a construction contract for the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Phase 2 project. The recommendations are as follows: for City Council to adopt a resolution approving design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Golden Bay Construction Incorporated for the project in the amount of $613,002, approving a construction contingency of $92,000, appropriating $75,000 from Measure A, and approving a total budget in the amount of $924,291. The goal of the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Program and the Capital Improvement Program is to enhance the pedestrian experience within the transit corridor in accordance with the General Plan and Transit Corridor Plan. Pedestrian enhancements described in the Transit Corridor Plan included bulb outs and pavement treatments to increase the visibility of crosswalks. 2 projects have already been completed within the program. The first was completed in September 2013, consisted of ADA accessible curb ramps, sidewalk repairs, and planting of street trees along Huntington Avenue and San Bruno Avenue. The second project, which was completed in May 2017, consisted of new landscaping and irrigation in the open areas of Huntington Avenue north of I-380. I would like to mention that those first 2 projects were grant funded. Oh, apologize, I didn't flip the screen. This Phase 2 project, which is the item before you tonight, the original scope was to install ADA-compliant curb ramps and street furniture along San Bruno Avenue, art murals on Huntington Avenue under I-380 overpass, pedestrian lighting on El Camino Real under I-380 overpass. 2 grants were awarded, totaling $850,000. Safe Routes to Transit provided $500,000, and a San Mateo County Transportation Authority grant provided $350,000 for a total of $850,000. Subsequently, there were concerns regarding the timeline and the ability to deliver the project as originally scoped, primarily due to the Caltrans right-of-way encroachments that would be required for work under the I-380 overpasses. There were concerns that additional requirements, conditions could increase costs, but also primarily delay the project from being delivered in time. There was also consideration for the timeline needed for public engagement for the art murals. Therefore, staff investigated a project rescoping. Staff reviewed available traffic collision data and prepared in 2017 this collision heat map. What this map shows is an image of the collision heat map generated by Transport Injury Mapping System using data from the statewide Integrated Traffic Records System, otherwise known as SWITRS. This data represents the years from 2008 to 2016. Areas that are shaded in green, yellow, orange, and red are locations where collisions have occurred, resulting in injury. Areas with higher frequency or more severe levels of injury are shown in increasingly warmer colors in orange and red. When overlaid with the limits of the transit corridor, it becomes apparent that there is a hot spot along San Bruno Avenue between El Camino Real and Huntington Avenue, which is shaded in the red, and this is towards the center of the screen. Staff subsequently also included the most recent updated information to include 2017 information, and similarly there is the hotspot on San Bruno Avenue. This was a map specifically for bicycle and pedestrian injuries. With this information, a project rescope was developed. It avoided work within Caltrans right-of-way, which El Camino is. The project improvements included bulb outs with 2 curb ramps at each corner between Green Avenue and Mills Avenue on San Bruno Avenue, rectangular rapid flashing beacon at San Bruno Avenue and Easton Avenue intersection, high visibility striping, and incidental to this work would be storm drain catch basin relocation and conforming paving work at the intersections to allow the bulb outs to work. I will provide in the subsequent slides a zoom in of each intersection. Contract documents were completed in January of 2019. The proposed improvements including installing bulb outs at the intersection corners, which increase pedestrian visibility to drivers and reduces the length of pedestrian travel across San Bruno Avenue. Each proposed bulb out runs a length of approximately 25 feet along San Bruno Avenue. This distance was needed to accommodate space for 2 curb ramps at each corner. The consultant conducted a turning movement evaluation to confirm whether the proposed corners would allow vehicles of up to 35 feet in overall length, which is typical of delivery trucks, to clear turns without requiring drivers to extend into adjacent travel lanes. And based on their evaluation, they determined that travel into adjacent lanes would not be required. In conjunction with the evaluation, there was also an assessment of the impact of the bulb outs on parking spaces, and it was determined that if all 4 intersections were to be constructed as shown, that 8 parking stalls total would be lost on San Bruno Avenue. The base bid is at Easton Avenue. There are currently in-pavement flashers that are difficult to maintain. Those would be replaced with a rapid flashing beacon that are above ground. As you can see, also 3 spots would potentially be lost. There are some existing red curbs, and so there would not be a loss on the northeast corner. And also in the southeast corner, there is red curb. However, it was determined that 1 spot would be lost. On Masson, 3 spots would also be lost. On Green, 1 spot would be impacted. And at Mills Avenue, 2 spaces would be impacted. The project was advertised in the local newspaper on January 28th and February 4th, 2019. Notice to bidders was sent to 90 contractors, posted on the city's website, and sent to 5 plan rooms. The lowest base bid was from Golden Bay Construction. Their additive items were also the lowest. Golden Bay has satisfactorily completed numerous concrete construction projects for the public agencies in the Bay Area, including the city of San Bruno. Based on their experience and performance, staff determined that Golden Bay Construction meets the qualifications to perform the work for the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvements Phase 2 project. As mentioned previously, there are 2 grant fundings totaling $850,000. Staff is recommending to award the base bid additives 1 and 3, primarily to most effectively expend the available funding without having to appropriate city funding as much as would be required to award all intersections. And as previously mentioned, approximately 8 parking spaces along San Bruno Avenue would be removed. This is a summary of the fiscal impact for design, construction, 15% contingency, and 10% administration inspection costs during construction. The total project cost is about $924,000. In order to make the shortfall with the grant of $850,000, a $75,000 appropriation would be required. There are some alternatives for staff's consideration. One is to award the base bid only. However, this will result in a loss of the SMCTA grant of $350,000, and 3 parking spaces would be removed. Second alternative would be not to award the contract for the project at all, which would result in a forfeiting of all grants and potential impact to future ability to obtain grants. The third option listed here would be to not award the contract for Phase 2 and reject all bids, instruct staff to re-advertise. This could incur additional costs and delay the contract such that we're unable to meet the deadlines for the grants. In conclusion, staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Golden Bay Incorporated for the project in the amount of $613,002, approving a construction contingency of $92,000, appropriating $92,000 for Measure A, and approving a total budget in the amount of $924,291. Thank you. I'm now available for any questions City Council may have.
Questions from council for the city engineer staff? Michael? Okay. Laura?
Through the chair, first of all, excellent presentation. It was very well presented. So just so I understand, so going back to that heat map, really the section between El Camino and San Mateo Avenue on San Bruno Avenue has a number of accidents. Is it mostly pedestrian related or is it vehicle accidents?
This particular map shows only pedestrian and bicycle collisions.
Okay.
From 2008 to 2017.
Okay, and so that's why the bulb outs is really probably the best solution in really, as you said, decreasing the amount of length of space that they've got to travel.
Correct.
And then the calming measures too as well, because
Yes.
definitely cars are speeding down that. And so is that a sense of slowing down as well, just those in itself?
Absolutely, that is one of the goals.
Okay.
Until their driver awareness as well.
Okay. Well, safety is definitely number one, so thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I think this is the first time I've seen this kind of map. I think it's great because it's very visual and easy to understand, and you're kind of going, oh my goodness. So I thank you for that. It was very interesting. It's too bad we lose parking spaces, but as Laura said, safety's our consideration for this. So I think it's something we have to do, and I think it's the solution that you've come up with is fine.
Marty?
And thank you for securing the grants. It's that's huge, $850,000 that we didn't have to get directly from the taxpayers. Some way or another, everybody's paying for that grant somehow or another. But there's 5 intersections that cross San Bruno Avenue, and the first at the west side, Hensley, is a really funky intersection because it's so close to El Camino. Was anything looked at that location?
Not to my awareness, not at this
Okay,
time.
right, okay. So looking at the amount of money that we have, looking at that heat map, but we still have one of those streets, other than Hensley, because I think I went by there today just because I had a couple questions from a couple residents about it, and you look at this project and you're like, that much money for 3 intersections, right? So at first you think, wow, that's just a lot of money, but there are storm drains that need to be relocated, right? And there's paving involved, so. Construction is expensive, and as our city is dealing with these tax revenues that could possibly come in to help pay for this, because otherwise, without this grant, it wouldn't happen. When I was out there, a resident came up to me and said, hey, what are you doing? They actually recognized me, so it was kind of like, oh, just checking this out. Well, it'd be great if you guys also did something over here on Euclid. And it's like, the only reason why this is getting done is because we have grant. We would love to do more things. That map, off the transit corridor plan, there's a bright red spot there. We should fix that. Well, how are we going to fix it if we don't have the money? Safety's priority 1. So we're going to enter this budget, and hopefully we can figure out. I would ask that we contact Golden Bay and say, hey, look, we would like to get this other work done. You gave us your bid. Is there something we could figure out? Negotiate that, figure it out, or when the contractor's here is the time to get most of the work done. When you have a mobilized contractor, they come out and they could give you a lower price because they're already here. So I would see if that you could, with the city manager's blessing and council's blessing, that you could possibly try to talk about that and find out what that cost would be to do that other intersection, because it's going to be kind of funky. You're going to have two that are on one side of the street, right, and there's one missing. So we're fixing the two that they all need help, right? They're all in red. So we're not fixing one of the red, and it's $200,000. As we approach our budget, as we start looking at the other reds, I would like to, of course, try to get more funding, right, for more grants. But I think there's a clear spot there that for $200,000 you can, or less, you could, maybe we can figure something out there. So I'm in favor of the project, and I'll leave it at that.
Sure. So in response to that, we will certainly go back and talk to the contractor about additive 2 or alternative 2 that's not currently in. The bid is $200,000 for that. Some of the conversations that staff and I have had is what are the other funding sources do we have as we look at all of our requests that staff have already submitted for the upcoming year. Can we push some things around to fund that additional $200,000 or whatever it ends up being? Because as the heat map shows, it is one of the most critical areas. And staff is recommending that we move forward with this because we certainly want to use those grant dollars, but we do have a valid bid for that other location of $200,000. And so we have and will continue to have those conversations. And should we have a way to fund that, we will bring it back to council.
Michael?
Thank you. I'm also in favor of the project. I think anything that we can do to improve the appearance and the traffic situation in that section is definitely going to be welcome. I cross that street a lot myself. I cross in that area Saturday mornings. I go for a run, and getting across El Camino and getting across here are the very challenging situation. So I think this will definitely be an improvement. The question I had was around the integration of this with other projects. And I know this is an area that whole area there is, kind of slated to be, redeveloped. We've seen at the far end of the eastern end of this how, the new projects are coming online. And as we move forward, I want to make sure that we're sort of aware of what else might be coming. And if there's an opportunity to do something like add fiber conduit when we have some of the sections of this open, or start thinking about those things, that we sort of plan them out accordingly. And also, in the past, I've mentioned possibly modifying our municipal code so that once we've made improvements like these and somebody comes along and does other improvements, that they have to be required to restore everything exactly the way we fixed it, rather than just slapping something together and ruining something that we've spent quite a bit of money on. So those are my only comments.
Okay, anything else for the city engineer or staff? Any action by council on this item is a resolution.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the resolution. City Clerk?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Medina?
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar?
Aye.
Vice Mayor O'Connell?
Aye.
Mayor Medina?
Aye. Thank you again to staff and my colleagues. I echo those comments.